At the rate we're going, I'm more afraid of your fellow Greeks being the one to kill us. None taken. According to the navigator, that's the Sicilian port of Constanza, where we're to meet with the tyrant's envoy. Afterwards, it's just a quick march to Syracuse, where we can help them against the Mamertines. Damn UGA. Must have found me. Damn it. Sir, according to our charts here, we've landed near the town of Ballistae, on the complete opposite side of where we're supposed to be, and deep behind Carthaginian territory. This must be one of those war machines devised by that Archimedes guy in order to ward off Carthaginian ships.
Despite suffering 2 crushing defeats, the Romans quickly recouped their strength. They refused to sign any peace treaty so long as Pyrrhus remained in Italy. Seeing no clear way forward, Pyrrhus turned his gaze to Sicily. Much like in Italy, the Greek colonies here were threatened by foreign invasion, this time from the Carthaginian Empire and its Mamertine allies. Carthage had dominated the Western Sea for centuries with its wealth and vast mercenary armies. Despite this, its grip on Sicily was tenuous, as the rugged island was difficult for any conqueror to hold. But if any man could succeed in ruling Sicily, Pyrrhus reasoned that it would be him.
If Syracuse falls, we will have no hope of liberating the rest of Sicily.
Hey guys, Ognaj Teff here, and welcome to another episode of our Age of Empires series during the Pyrrhic Wars. And today we are going to liberate all of Sicily. However, we've sort of been blown off course, and we need to regroup with Syracuse before we can do anything. Now, I told Pyrrhus this was because of Archimedes' war machines, but don't tell him that he's only 7 years old at this point. It's actually, well, a rival time travel company, but not important, not important. Right now, what we do have to do is start raiding the countryside to liberate this people of Sicily.
Nearly all of Sicily remains under enemy control. We must drive the Carthaginians and Mamertines from every corner of the island if we are to liberate these people.
Well spoken, sir, well spoken. Yeah, just don't tell him, please. So, as he was stating there, our main goal here is to liberate the island of Syracuse, or Sicily, first by liberating Syracuse itself, and then pushing westward to push the Carthaginians off the island. Now, the first little bit here, we are not fighting the Carthaginians directly. We are instead fighting the Mamertines, an Italian mercenary company from Campania, who, interesting little fact, is responsible for both this intervention as well as the Punic Wars. So, yeah, a little fun fact there, but they're a bunch of mercenaries turned pirates and raiders, and we're here to stop them. And to do that, we have to do, well, 3 main things. 1, liberate the various villages by destroying the towers and then destroying the little stockpiles to gain some resources, which will actually unlock a pretty little funny conversation here. Let's just run that.
I hear that you brought the Romans to shame twice, Pyrrhus. As much as I commend the effort, I cannot allow you to repeat that feat here. Sicily is not for anyone to take. Well, except us.
We had these poor Sicilians' wealth, well protected in our stores. And then you came along and stole it from us. I mean, from them. What a disgrace.
That's right, the pirates and the mercenaries are calling us shameful. Anyway, our second major goal here is to sort of boom and zoom with all of our resources here at this village. So a lot of this first little bit is all about eco. Get out your farmers, get out your wood choppers, get your gold mines all set and ready, and then build up an army so that you can help defend Syracuse against the main Mamertine assault. After which, the Mamertines will be destroyed and no longer an issue. And then finally, number 3, and actually the more important thing to do in the long run, is you see those yellow dots on the map. Those belong to the Carthaginian suppliers. We have to destroy them and destroy the Carthaginian docks at the port of Liberator in order to cripple their forces, unless we want to get overwhelmed later in the mission. And I will admit, this is actually my second attempt doing this. I got overwhelmed later in the mission. So, this mission is all about the Navy War. And, maybe in real life, if Pyrrhus had done what I'm doing, maybe he actually would have won this campaign. Spoiler alert. So, let's focus now a little bit more on what is happening here and now, instead of what's happening in the future. So, as mentioned, this mission is all about the Navy. Our main goal will be to shut down the Carthaginian Navy, which itself was the single most powerful navy in this region, before they can use it en masse against us. And to do that, we have to destroy these little supply depots here on the islands to keep them from being able to supply their troops on Sicily proper. In fact, Liberator was the cornerstone to the Carthaginian fleet in this region, with the idea being it was the main point of supply between Carthage, Sardinia, and Sicily. So the entirety of the eastern half of Carthage's empire. So, in order to do that, we have to build up our things on land here constantly, expand food production, expand stone production, expand gold production, and most importantly, wood production. Send our army out against another village as we sort of burn down the docks and try and... Okay, yeah, you know what? No, don't bother with the ships, just burn down the docks. If they have nowhere to go, they aren't doing anything against us. And also, we can outrange the towers, at least, so we can just skirt around them there. And eventually, we'll be able to sort of rebuild our forces, but more importantly, level up to the next age. That's going to be the main goal here, which is why we're trying to boom as much as possible. And, okay, I guess more wood choppers, please. More wood. There we go, and some gold, too. Yes, and that is another settlement cleared of soldiers. It's just the tower and then the stockpile. And then there's just 2 left. One in the far north, just north of Mount Etna, which I'm guessing is supposed to represent Messina, which would have been the primary capital of the Mamertines during the period. And then one south of Syracuse there. And then after that, the Mamertine siege of Syracuse itself is all we need to deal with. So, fast forwarding a little bit, we've just hit the Iron Age, and we're now clearing out yet another of the bases, this one being the Messina one. And now we can begin upgrading our hoplites into phalangites, and then, more importantly actually, our warships we can turn into triremes. Now this is important because Carthage does not level up until the first 15 minutes are through. So we can level up really quickly and use our initial advantage to knock out the Carthaginian docks before they can begin to even mass warships. And even if they can mass warships, this is prior to them being able to upgrade it, which means we'll have the distinct advantage in that regard. So we've already cleared up the North Island, so I'm going to gather up the fleet, and then I'm going to send them all against Carthage, and hopefully knock out everything. Okay, so here we go. The upgrade is just about to finish firing here, and our triremes will be ready just as we peek over into Carthage's main naval base. Let's see, where are their docks? Imagine this, you're a Carthaginian, then suddenly a massive Greek war fleet shows up, especially since Greek war fleets weren't even supposed to be in the region. Ah, this is great. I love it. But yeah, their ships are unable to compete. So, yay! They won't be able to do anything against me. Now, I still have a few minutes here that I can use to destroy these docks, which is great, because so long as I can destroy these docks, they will not rebuild them. Which means I've effectively won the naval war on this half of the island. I will still need to go around to the far side and sink Liberator's fleet. But for that, I have a plan in the future. Right now, I also cannot forget the upgrades to the units here. Now, one mistake I did make on my first attempt through this mission was focusing too much on trying to upgrade my units and not enough in building them up. Anyway, as we sink the Carthaginian fleet, that prompts them to say this.
Last night, I dreamed that Mount Etna awoke from her slumber and buried your army in hot magma. Imagine my disappointment to wake up and find you still here.
Well, on the bright side, at least your fleet is no longer here. Anyway, interesting fact about Mount Etna. That was the location that the god Zeus would have battled the titan Typhon in the Greek mythology, and thus explaining why the volcano would constantly spew fire. It was because of Typhon constantly breathing fire out the top of the mountain. But enough distracting myself with Greek mythology. That'll be another time for that, I bet. Right now, we need to focus on taking out the last of these docks, because the last thing I want is to leave one alone and then accidentally let my fleet get destroyed by reinforcements. So, with that in mind, let's just sort of build up our army. We want to get a small line of defenses here. Not because I'm afraid of the Carthaginians retaliating, it's just that I don't... Yeah, actually no, it's because I'm afraid of the Carthaginians retaliating. So we'll build up a couple, just some stables, and then I'll build up some war elephants there to hold the line. So the army I'm going with is slow, but able to basically take a hit, is the idea. Now, there is a problem that the army of the enemy does specialize in cavalry and archers, which actually means my slow but powerful approach actually kind of isn't all that great. I really should probably be going for cavalry over elephants, but c'est la vie. Besides, my navy in the backline here is doing a lot to disrupt their economy, which means I probably won't need to be too worried about their cavalry for too long. But now is the time for this first segment of the video to come to a close. Much like Pyrrhus's own campaigns, the first little bit was spent against fighting the Mamertines and driving them back to Messenia and out of Syracuse territory. And with our 15 minutes up, they're going to move in and try and destroy Syracuse, and we're going to move in and try and rescue them. Now, Pyrrhus I'm going to send directly against the catapults in the back, because his one-chop slap sort of deal can easily disrupt those, and also I really do not want catapults shooting into my line. Otherwise, yeah, they have a lot of units, but I have Ognajteff and Pyrrhus, who has taken a few hits. But don't worry, I've not made any grievous mistakes just yet. Although saying that, I am getting rather low. So, instead of focusing on the main battle, let's kind of talk about the next phase, that being the Carthaginian threat.
You are true to your reputation, Pyrrhus. Sweeping in at the last second to save us all. Syracuse and all Greeks in Sicily owe you thanks.
We have liberated the Sicilian heartland. Now the Carthaginians have nowhere to hide but their coastal holdings.
That is right, Pyrrhus. All they have left are their coastal holdings, of which I've already destroyed the majority of the docks. And with the destruction of the last Mamertine settlement, I have now captured effectively all the resources I can use, as well as the docks on the southern shore here for me to reinforce my attack against this sort of port area here, which, doesn't go very well. But that aside, let us focus on the current situation, because the way Pyrrhus said it made it sound as if the Carthaginians are running scared. And, while I'm able to do some intensive micro like this, where I'm going to be able to keep this ship alive for a little bit while I destroy the guys firing at it, the Carthaginians aren't about to go hide in their coastal fortifications. In fact, quite the opposite, they're sallying out to try and overwhelm me with numbers, specifically cavalry, archers, and then some medium infantry. All of which I can deal with. It's just a matter of making sure my very slow-moving armies are in position to do so. Speaking of my slow armies needing to be able to come and save my arse, yeah, it turns out my villagers may have cut through the wood line and made my defenses moot. Anyway, I will be able to use the defenses there to sort of hold them off long enough for my centurions to get in, but I am still greatly annoyed. Particularly since they were able to kill a few of my villagers. So, great, now that there are two angles for me to defend, and my navy has been sort of decimated while trying to deal with this, stop trying to fight the towers. I am surrounded by idiots. Anyway, back to sort of the situation here.
Your elephants may frighten the Romans, but my men have fought alongside these beasts for years. We Carthaginians do not scare so easily.
Okay, thank you for the information. I don't care if they scare you, I just care if they kill you. Anyway, actually that is a point. Romans, when they first saw elephants on the field of battle, was during the Pyrrhic Wars, and Pyrrhus used the elephants to great effect at the Battle of Heraclea, where they absolutely destroyed the Roman lines. But by the Battle of Asculum, the Romans had adapted, and, well, the Romans are still adapting while we're over here in Sicily fighting the Carthaginians. So, in real life, the majority of the Pyrrhic Wars was actually spent in Sicily. First fighting off the Mamertines, which we've successfully done, and then driving across the entire shoreline from Syracuse to Liberator. And the thing with Liberator is, it's sort of in the wrong position. It is placed on this sort of mission at the center of Sicily, but in fact it's actually the farthest western tip of Sicily. So maybe if they flipped Carthage and Liberator around, it would make a bit more sense. But I digress. Yeah, so I'm currently getting my, well, my base raided by Liberator. This is what would happen if I didn't destroy the Carthaginian navy dockyards earlier, except maybe about 10 to 15 times the warships. I know that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but that's what it feels like. Anyway, I've got to get my units all readied up. I've got to get my elephants ready. And, oh yes, what was I saying about the Pyrrhic Wars? It was, Liberator was on the far western coast, and Pyrrhus had successfully conquered all of Sicily, save for the port of Liberator. In fact, the Carthaginians offered to surrender the entire island to Pyrrhus, in exchange that they got to keep Liberator. As I mentioned earlier, it was the cornerstone to the defense of both Carthage and Sardinia. Unfortunately, Pyrrhus declined the offer of surrender, and may or may not have gone on to fail at the 2-month siege of Liberator, and be forced to retreat to Syracuse, instead resorting to some drastic means to secure local support, which may or may not have begun to sour local relations.
If the Carthaginians are sending reinforcements, we must change our tactics. We have asked little of the locals so far, but we will need everything they can supply us with if we are to win this war.
Well, I realize that clip came from a little bit later in the video. I think it's pertinent to mention that Pyrrhus really started to turn into a bit of a tyrant himself upon arrival here in Sicily. Something I am going to have to be very careful about, lest I accidentally destroy the timeline again. But as you can see, earlier I mentioned elephants when the Carthaginians were boasting they weren't afraid of them. Like I said, I don't need them to be afraid of elephants, I just need them to die. Okay. But, more importantly, back to the point is, I'm going to try and do a little something called hearts and minds. Try and convince the locals that I'm actually in their best interest, so that way they don't turn on us and try and throw us out earlier than hoped. Yes, I understand that the situation is dire, but yeah, I'm going to try and check his temper on this one. I'm tired of staying on the back foot, so let's say we cause a little bit of trouble in Little Liberator. So, well, I should say the mislabeled port of Liberator. Once again, this is not where it's supposed to be. Flip the two. Anyway, our current thing here is making sure we do not miss with, oh thank goodness, with all of our units. Anyway, we're gonna just skip ahead a little bit because it's just the same thing as you can see here. I'm doing periodic snipes of their newly produced enemy units. Grab a catapult trireme. This is important because him I can just have focus on the building and they do bonus damage. Oh hey look, a traitor. Or sorry, hey look, there was a traitor. Anyway, at this point, pretty much all I need to do now is weaken them using the navy and then send in the land units to sort of sweep in and stop any other forces from building up and attacking. So at this point the land war is won effectively. Like, all I need to do is destroy this last little port, and this is the last port facility, and then the naval war is won. Like, there's nothing left for them to do. And then I can just use my fleet here as a bit of a strike force to shoot at their land units and their production structure. More importantly, to snipe their town center here. And, well, I do that. That's effectively the end of the Liberator. I've decided I'm going to keep sort of my elephant line back just to keep any Carthaginians from just poking at my back line. And I think Pyrrhus is finally getting a bit in the mood to join the battle himself. Now, the Syracusans, like, they have an ability, which you would have seen in other missions, where you can ping the map and they'll go to the ping and sort of fight with you. I have them set to help me fight at Lilibeum, but they're basically just staying back and defending their own city against Carthage, which is fine, it works. But I think it's about time we get Pyrrhus in on this. And, oh hey, free open gate. Hey guys, thank you for leaving your gate open. Thank you. Anyway, I guess Pyrrhus gets to have some fun now, sweeping up the remaining land forces, destroying their little production structures here, while I do everything I can to snipe them from the land. And for some reason, we're destroying the farm. There we go. Back to actual military targets. So once this outpost is clear, that'll trigger Carthaginian reinforcements, and they're not just any normal reinforcements, they're centurions. Full health centurions. And I mean, yeah, our centurions are probably the single best in the whole game, but when you're weak, outnumbered, and, well, I'll start with the good news. I sent the elephants forward, and we did clear up a Carthaginian war camp. So that was good. And then I sent the navy, and we started pillaging the back lines again inside Carthage itself. Problem is, well, they built up a wall here. And their reinforcements came at me on the bridge, where it doesn't matter how many troops I have. They're able to sort of pinch me off and destroy me. And yeah, it turns out that this was an absolute slaughter. And I try and have Pyrrhus help, but then I realized that that would be a grievous mistake, and, well, yeah, no, he's forced to run. Yeah.
And our axemen.
I do get Syracuse signaled in, so they're going to go help. And Pyrrhus can go assist the northern army group. It's just the southern army group is completely and totally annihilated. Sorry guys, Pyrrhic victory? Well, after one last hurrah from the Carthaginian army, we finally did a little bit of rebuilding, and now we're ready to just push through the northern gate area. So our only real goal at this point is to destroy the last Carthaginian town centers. I'll leave Syracuse to do one, my navy to do another, and then finally Pyrrhus here can sweep in and destroy the last one, which is up here in the north. Although first I'm going to divide up the army, destroy these towers so I don't have anyone poking at my back line. Oh, there's a couple reinforcements I left behind. But yeah, let's just deal with them. A bit of revenge for the Battle of the Bridge. There we go. Let's leave none alive. Surround them and destroy them.
Stand firm, men. Victory.
Yep, he is correct. All that is left is that last town center right there. Once we destroy that, the battle has been won. So, at this point, the Navy can just go gallivanter in the back line, just cause a little bit of morale damage at this point, and our armies can just sort of clear up the last of it. So, I guess, with all of that stated, thank you guys all for watching. This has been Ognajteff, and I'll see you next time as we go towards the final mission in the Age of Empires Pyrrhus campaign. Now, here's hoping Pyrrhus doesn't manage to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Flee and all of Sicily is under our control. Victory is ours!
Hooray!
Pyrrhus had bested another great empire. Yet, as so many times before, his victory was short-lived. As the war dragged on, he became increasingly suspicious of the Greeks who had called him there. Their refusal to give everything to the war effort was, in his mind, akin to treason. When he executed one of the men who had invited him to Sicily in the first place, the public turned against him. Pyrrhus, they claimed, had become just the sort of tyrant they had wanted to escape. With the entire island in revolt, it seemed that Pyrrhus was out of options.
God damn it, Pyrrhus, you had one job!